It was exactly 8:47 in the morning, June 14th, 1944, 3 miles west of Corinth, France. A Sherman tank sat dead still behind a collapsed stone barn. The engine ticked as it cooled down. Inside, the air was thick with burnt cordite and sweat. Through the commander's periscope, Corporal James Whitt stared out at a tree line 240 yards away. Dark. Silent. Way too silent. He had no idea that in the next 8 minutes his loader was going to do something so unorthodox, so completely outside the rule book, that some would call it reckless, others would call it brilliant. And armoured warfare instructors would be teaching it for decades. The Germans were out there, patient and waiting, and his crew was about to face something no training had ever prepared them for. Nobody expected them to walk away from that morning alive. Private First Class Danny Kowalski wasn't cut out to be a soldier, at least not on paper. He was born a grocery clerk out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Skinny kid, fast hands, a natural feel for organisation. His father ran a little corner store in Polish Hill, and from the age of 12, Danny worked the register, stocked the shelves, kept the inventory rotating. He could spot an expired can from across the aisle. He could restock a shelf faster than anyone in the neighbourhood. The guys at basic training ripped into him for it. Called him the grocer. Laughed when he arranged his footlocker like a store display, everything labelled, everything set up for speed. His drill sergeant thought he was obsessive. His bunkmates thought he was weird. But when Danny volunteered for tank duty and got assigned as a loader, something just clicked. The inside of a Sherman's turret was nothing more than a cramped little stockroom. The ammo racks were shelves. The shells were products, and in combat, speed wasn't about being the strongest guy in the tank, it was about economy of motion, knowing exactly where your hand needed to go without ever having to look. War has a cruel way of turning strange habits into lifelines, and Danny's hands, those quick, practiced grocery store hands, were about to rewrite the playbook on how fast a Sherman could kill. The hedgerow country of Normandy was a death trap for American armour. Every single field was a potential kill zone, boxed in by thick earthen walls and old, dense vegetation that killed your sightlines and turned every advance into a blind gamble. The Germans knew this terrain inside and out. They'd fortified it, mined it, and tucked their PAK-40 anti-tank guns into concealed positions that made them nearly invisible until they opened fire. In the last 48 hours alone, the 2nd Armoured Division had lost 17 tanks in this sector. Burning Shermans were scattered across the landscape like funeral pyres. The Sherman's 75mm gun could punch through most German armour at medium range, but only if the crew lasted long enough to pull the trigger. German crews were faster, better trained, and had way more experience. And the weather wasn't doing anyone any favours. Morning fog clung to the low ground, dragging visibility down to under 200 yards. 2 days of rain had left the ground soft and boggy. Mud grabbed at the tracks, slowed traverse times, made repositioning slow and loud. Intelligence had reported at least 2 Panzer IVs and multiple infantry positions hiding in the woods ahead. The mission was straightforward. Push through, secure the crossroads, support the infantry advance. Nothing lasted long out here. But Whitt's crew had one advantage the Germans didn't know about yet. Something tiny. Something so easy to overlook that nobody had even flagged it during morning inspection. Danny Kowalski had rearranged the ammo. The German machine gun opened up first, a long sustained burst that sparked off the Sherman's glacis plate like angry hornets swarming metal. Whitt's voice cracked over the intercom. Gunner, tree line, 11 o'clock, 220 yards, infantry position behind logs. Sergeant Bill Marsh, the gunner, swung the turret left. It whined as it moved. Through his sight he found the target, a dark horizontal shape, muzzle flashes blinking like tiny fireflies. Identified, fire. The 75mm kicked hard. The breech slammed back with a metallic crash that rattled everyone's teeth. Smoke flooded the turret. Through the haze, Marsh watched the log pile disintegrate, bodies tumbling. But before the smoke had even started to clear, Danny's hands were already moving. Most loaders just grabbed whatever shell they could reach first, usually from the ready rack on the turret floor, a random mix of armor-piercing and high-explosive. Danny didn't work that way. His hand went exactly 6 inches to the left, pulled a high-explosive round from a spot he'd marked that very morning with a chalk line, spun it, and drove it home. The breech closed with a clean, solid clack. "Up!" Danny called out. 3 seconds. Marsh blinked. Standard reload time was 5 to 7 seconds. Under stress, it could stretch to 10. 3 seconds was unheard of. Target, second position, 10 o'clock, 180 yards. The gun fired again, and Danny was already reaching for the next shell. The Germans hadn't expected a second shot that fast. A Pac 40 crew was repositioning when the high-explosive round detonated 8 feet from where they stood, shredding the gun shield and scattering the crew. Whit spotted more movement. Infantry scrambling through the hedgerow, trying to work around the left flank. Gunner, hedge, 9 o'clock, 150. Troops in the open. Marsh traversed, fired. The canister round turned 30 yards of hedgerow into a kill zone. "Up!" Danny's voice. Steady. Calm. 2.5 seconds. Another target. Another shot. The rhythm was building now. Identify. Traverse. Fire. Reload. But it wasn't just the speed that made it remarkable. Danny had done something nobody in any training manual had ever thought of. He'd reorganized the entire ammo supply by the order it was most likely to be used. High explosive rounds on the left side of the ready rack, exactly where his left hand naturally fell the moment the breech swung open. Armor-piercing rounds staggered on the right. Canister rounds in the sponson rack, marked with tape, set up for a blind grab. Every movement was trimmed down to bare essentials. No wasted motion, no searching, no hesitation. The fourth kill came at 8:51, a German half-track trying to pull back across open ground. Armor-piercing round through the engine block, the vehicle lurched, rolled, and stopped dead. Figures bailed out. Marsh caught them with the coaxial machine gun, but the enemy was adapting. Return fire was picking up. A Panzerfaust rocket screamed past the turret, missing by inches. Mud erupted on the left side, a near miss from something heavier, probably mortar fire. Whit ordered the driver to reverse 20 yards and get behind better cover. The fog was lifting now. That was bad news. Better sight lines went both ways, and the Germans could now see them clearly. Contact, right side. Panzer IV, hull down, 280 yards. Marsh's stomach dropped. A Panzer IV could chew through a Sherman's frontal armour at that range. The German tank's gun was already swinging toward them. A race, pure and simple. Whoever fired first survived. Gunner, AP, track, junction. Marsh found the target. The Panzer's lower hull, just barely visible above a berm. A small target. A tough shot. Danny's hand was already moving. He'd read the call before Whit even finished speaking, knew exactly what round was needed. The shell slid home. "Up!" Marsh fired. The round hit low, right where it had to. The Panzer's track exploded in a spray of metal links. The tank slewed sideways, dead in the water, its gun swinging wildly off target. Hit! Reload! Finish him! Another armor-piercing round. Danny didn't even glance at the rack. His hand just knew. Up! The second shot punched through the turret ring. Smoke poured out of every hatch on that German tank. 5 kills in 4 minutes. But the Germans weren't finished. A second Panzer broke out of the tree line. This one was moving. Turret already lined up. The first shot came before Whit could even make a call. It hit the Sherman's right track assembly. The tank lurched hard. Inside, the crew was thrown into their stations. Whit's head cracked off the periscope mount. Blood ran down his temple. "We're tracked. Driver, rock us. Give Marsh an angle." The driver hammered the engine, spinning the left track, trying to pivot the disabled Sherman. Slowly, too slowly, the German tank was reloading. Marsh swung right hard, found the Panzer in his sight. 240 yards, moving target, tucked behind a rise. Steady, steady. Danny already had the armour-piercing round in his hands, waiting, watching the breach. Ready? The German fired again. The round caught the turret's side armour at a glancing angle and screamed off into the morning air, leaving a deep gouge but no penetration. Pure luck. Nothing more. Fire. Marsh's shot hit the Panzer square in the driver's viewport. The tank jerked, stopped, and started burning. 6 kills. Danny's hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from the raw physical repetition. Grab, spin, load, grab, spin, load. His shoulders were on fire, his back screamed at him. The turret was a furnace, temperatures climbing past 110 degrees from the gun's heat, but he didn't let up. Movement now, infantry, multiple contacts, 100 yards out pushing through the smoke. High explosive rounds, 3 in a row. Danny grabbed them without looking, muscle memory completely in charge. Each shot pushed the advancing Germans back, breaking their assault. A Kubelwagen tried to bolt across the field. Armour-piercing round. The vehicle came apart. 3 Germans broke from cover and ran. Marsh switched to the coaxial gun and cut them down. More movement on the right flank, 120 yards. High explosive, up, fire. Danny's world had shrunk to pure motion. Grab, spin, load. Grab, spin, load. Breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Sweat stinging his eyes. Another target, another kill. 10, 11, 12. The tree line was thinning out. The Germans were pulling back, finally breaking contact. Smoke hung over the whole field like a shroud. Burning vehicles, scattered gear, bodies. The Sherman's gun barrel was glowing red at the muzzle brake. Then Whit's voice cut through sharp and clear. "Cease fire! Cease fire! Contact broken!" Danny collapsed against the turret wall and gasped for air, arms like dead weight. But it wasn't over yet. 30 seconds of quiet, then Whit's voice again, low and tight. "Something's wrong." They pulled back, too clean, too organized. Marsh scanned through his sight. Nothing in the tree line, no muzzle flashes, no engine noise, just smoke and stillness. Maybe they're done, Danny whispered, hoping. "No," Whit said, and his voice was ice cold. "Somebody smart is out there watching us, waiting for us to move." And he was right. 340 yards out, hidden in a drainage ditch behind the burned-out Kubelwagen, a German tank commander named Oberleutnant Klaus Ritter lay completely still. He'd watched the whole engagement through binoculars, watched the American Sherman tear through his unit with impossible speed, watched his men die. He'd counted every shot, noted the rate of fire, worked out the ammo expenditure. The Americans had to be running low, had to be. His Panzer IV sat 60 yards behind him, settled down in a depression, engine idling just above silent. His crew knew exactly what to do. Be patient. Let the enemy think it's finished. Let them relax. Let them start moving. Then kill them. Ritter watched the Sherman through his binoculars. Commander's hatch still closed. Smart. Tank wasn't moving. Also smart. But they'd have to move eventually. Their track was wrecked. They'd need recovery. They'd have to reposition. And when they did, he'd be right there waiting. Inside the Sherman, Whit made his call. "Driver, back us up slowly, 10 yards. Get us behind that barn wall. The engine revved. The left track spun. The Sherman began to pivot. Ritter smiled. Gunner, target, range 340. Lead him. The Panzer's gun moved slow and precise. Whit caught it, a glint of movement in his periscope. His blood went cold. Contact. Panzer, concealed position, 340. Traverse right. Marsh swung the gun around. Found nothing. I can't see him. Ditch behind the wreck. Danny's hand was already going for the ammo. Armour-piercing round coming up from the sponson, but his arms were shot. The shell slipped. He caught it, loaded it, fumbled out the call. Up. 4 seconds. Too slow. Both guns fired at almost the same instant. The German round came in first, struck the Sherman's upper glacis at a shallow angle, deflected upward, and screamed over the turret by inches. The impact rocked the tank hard. Whit's helmet cracked off the hatch rim. Marsh's round hit low, struck the berm in front of Ritter's Panzer, pelted it with dirt and debris, but didn't punch through. Reload. Danny grabbed another armour-piercing shell. His hands were cramping badly. The shell felt twice as heavy as it should. He muscled it into the breech. Up. The German Panzer was reversing now, backing toward deeper cover. Ritter knew the window had closed. His crew was scrambling. Fire! Marsh led the target, aimed for where the Panzer would be in 2 seconds, and squeezed. The round caught the German tank mid-reverse, punched through the thinner side armour, tore into the engine compartment. Flames erupted. The Panzer jerked to a stop. 3 figures bailed out. Ritter was one of them, stumbling, his uniform smoking. Marsh tracked them with the coaxial gun. His finger hovered over the trigger. "Let them go," Whit said quietly. The Germans vanished into the tree line. Silence fell. Real silence this time. Danny slumped against the turret wall, chest heaving. His hands were bleeding, cuts from shell casings and the sharp metal edges of the racks. He hadn't even noticed until now. 13 kills, 1 damaged Sherman, 0 casualties. Whit keyed the radio. Ironside 6, this is Ironside 22. Contact broken. Position secure, requesting recovery vehicle for track repair, over. The reply crackled back. Copy 22, recovery en route. What's your status? Whit looked around at his crew, looked at Danny, still trembling, looked at the gun, still smoking. Operational. Only then did Danny lower his head. His arms hung useless at his sides. The adrenaline was draining fast now, leaving nothing behind but pure exhaustion. The turret smelled like burnt powder, hot metal, and sweat. Spent shell casings covered the floor. He counted them without meaning to. 37. 37 rounds in just under 12 minutes. Marsh cracked the loader's hatch. Fresh air poured in, cool, clean, impossibly sweet. Danny gulped it down. "You okay?" Marsh asked. Danny nodded. Couldn't find words yet. The recovery vehicle showed up 40 minutes later. A maintenance sergeant climbed up on the Sherman, checked over the damaged track, and let out a low whistle. "You boys got lucky. Another inch, and you'd have lost the whole drive sprocket." Captain Brainer, the company commander, arrived an hour after that. He walked the battlefield with Whit, going from wreck to wreck, counting them up. 3 Panzers, 2 half-tracks, 1 Kubelwagen, multiple infantry positions destroyed. He climbed up onto the Sherman's hull and looked down at Danny through the open hatch. "You're the loader?" "Yes, sir." "How many rounds did you push through this gun?" 37, sir." Brenner glanced at his watch and did the math. His eyebrows went up. That's not possible." "The manual says." "I know what the manual says, sir." Whit's voice was quiet but firm. "He rearranged the ammo racks by hand this morning. Didn't ask permission." Brenner stared at Danny for a long moment. Then he smiled. Show me. What Danny Kowalski did that morning changed American armor doctrine forever. Within 3 weeks his ammo arrangement was being put through its paces at the Ordnance Department's proving grounds in Aberdeen. Within 6 months it was official doctrine, taught to every loader in every tank school from Fort Knox to Fort Benning. They called it the Kowalski load, though Danny never much cared for the name. Reorganizing ammunition by mission probability and hand path efficiency brought the average reload time down from 6.2 seconds to 3.8 seconds across the entire armoured force. That might not sound like a lot, 2 seconds, but in a tank engagement 2 seconds is the gap between firing first and dying first, between 13 kills and becoming kill number 14. Modern armour crews still train using versions of his method. The core idea hasn't changed. Economy of motion, predictive positioning, muscle memory over conscious thought. Danny survived the war, made it through France, Belgium and into Germany. He earned the Silver Star for his actions near Carentan, though he rarely put it on. After the war, he went home to Pittsburgh, reopened his father's grocery store, raised 3 kids, and almost never spoke about what happened. But sometimes, late at night, his hands would move in his sleep, reaching, grabbing, loading shells that weren't there anymore. History remembered what he did, even when he tried not to. The Sherman that carried him through that morning, hull number 2031-489, sits today at the National Armour and Cavalry Museum at Fort Moore, Georgia. The turret still carries the scorch marks, the ammo racks still show his chalk lines, and every loader who walks past it knows the name Kowalski.